Hello, hello, hello. Dr. T here. How we doing? How we doing? Well, we seem to have made it through Winter Storm 2026. That was an epic 3 to 4 weeks, but the snow is melting. We're getting our new playground built outside, and spring is just around the corner. Actually, in a little over 2 weeks, daylight saving will occur, and it will be lighter much later in the day, and I'm looking forward to that. But enough about the seasonal changes. You know what I want to talk to you about today? Goal setting. And goal setting is a topic that if I would have had greater conversation or more people talk to me about it when I was a younger person, when I was in elementary school, middle school, and even high school, I think my initial attempts once I went to college and moved into adulthood, I would have gotten from A to Z sooner. My mind was so focused on attaining, getting, wanting to be, securing, getting the bag, as they say. And if you don't focus on the actual goals and the steps that have to happen to get what you want, you can get tripped up, or you can get misaligned, or you can go down a road that you weren't supposed to go down. So I had to learn about goal setting. I think about when I first started college. I always did well in school. I always got good grades, real good grades in elementary, middle school, and high school. But school wasn't hard for me. So when I first got to college, and there were some courses that were challenging me, I had to realize and learn, and it took some time. I don't know how to study. I don't know how to set goals to line out how I'm going to learn this material. So the first semester, 2 or 3, were rough for me with regards to identifying the goals I needed to become successful. A lot of times in elementary school, you'll get questions like this from me. What do you want to be when you grow up? Many people want to be doctors, lawyers, teachers. Big one in second grade is always Target. But we always are talking about the end game and what we want to become. But we don't spend enough time talking about, well, what do I need to do? What steps do I need to take in order to get that position? When I was in elementary school, middle school, and high school, you could not have told me I wasn't going to be a professional football player. I, like many of you, put a lot of time into that, and that was what I thought I was going to be. Fortunately, I took care of my schoolwork, so when I didn't become a professional sports player, I could fall back on my academics. But what I see in a lot of young people, they'll say, I want to be a professional football player. I want to be a professional basketball player. I want to be a professional soccer player. Do you know the steps you have to take to become a professional anything? Look at your teacher in the room right now. You think they said in 4th grade, I want to become a teacher, and I just became a teacher? Nope. They had to go to college. They had to graduate college. Many went and got their master's degree. That's college after college. And then after that, you have to take these exams. And some of the exams are quite tricky. And then you got to interview. And then you got to impress on the interview. And then you got to have more interviews once they think they like you. And then you got to come in and learn the job in the district you get hired. There are many steps to becoming. So when you have these ideas of what you want to be, or things you want to secure, or you have a vision of what you think your world will look like, what you need to do as you start to move on toward middle school, don't wait till high school or after high school. I'm saying by 5th grade, you should be doing this. Start writing down the steps that you have to take to attain your goal. So if you want to be a professional soccer player, you need to write down what type of training has to go into that. What type of exposure has to go into that? What type of other talent do you need to play against? What type of coaching do you need to have? What type of money, yes, money, does your family need to have so you can be exposed to the travel experience, so you can get used to playing against quality players? There's a lot that goes into what you see on TV with these athletes. And I'm using athletes a lot today because so many younger people see that and envision that. But even if you want to be a firefighter, there are steps you have to take. You can't just graduate high school and be like, all right, I'm gonna go work for the fire department. It doesn't work like that now. You might want to be a police officer. Years past, did you know you did not have to have a college degree? Now, because of all the information and education that is out there, and they want police officers to be well-rounded people, many police departments now require, on top of the additional training that you have to go to become ready to become a police officer, many of the departments also say you have to have a college degree. Step one, college degree. Then you go to the police academy. Then you got to try to be hired. I don't say any of this to make you feel spooked or feel like attaining life success is unattainable, because you can become anything, and we've all heard this, you put your mind to. But the lie, the misconception, the part that is kind of not told is, yes, you can become anything that you put your mind to. But even if you say with all your heart, I really, really, really want to be whatever it is you want to be, and you're not willing to identify your goals, implement the goals, and succeed in the goals, you're not going to find that success. You're not going to get that position. You're not going to become that professional. So if you're in 4th grade, for example, about the transition to Gateway Middle School, and you have seen now, as the big kids of elementary, each year from kindergarten, there was more expectation placed upon you. And you notice as you started to move through 2nd grade, and then absolutely the first day of 3rd grade and subsequent 4th grade, a lot of expectation of you handling your business was placed upon you. That is to prepare you for middle school. Now, what you need to think about the remainder of this year, if you're a 4th grader, and the summer that's coming up before you head up the road to the middle school, what are your goals for middle school? Do you want to achieve in the classroom? Do you want to do well academically? I came out of a household when I was a kid that the only thing acceptable was an A or B. We weren't allowed to get C's. Now, that's just my household. But you got to ask yourself, what are the expectations placed upon you? And what expectations do you place upon yourself? So if your goal is to make honor roll, because you'll hear that a lot starting next year. If your goal is to make honor roll, that means you did really, really well and got mostly A's and B's in all your classes, because you have a lot of classes. Do you think you just show up and get the A's and B's? What type of goals are you going to have? What type of benchmarks are you going to have? What are the things that you're going to tell yourself, I have to do this, this, and this if I want this to happen? If you don't go to 5th grade kind of figuring out some goals, then you'll find yourself kind of wandering through, because the expectation is for you to be ready to handle a lot of stuff on your own. And if you don't identify the steps that it takes to have academic success, you may not have academic success. Now, I'm going to go to the other end. Let's say you're in kindergarten right now. So kindergarten has a lot to do with normalizing, rule learning, conforming, listening skills, huge. Not that listening skills aren't big after kindergarten, but we're teaching you a lot of how to do school. But kindergartners, there's this thing called 1st grade. It's coming next year. And in 1st grade, we do a lot of writing. And we work on our letters. and we start to learn sounds, and we start to learn phonetics, and we start to read sentences. And now here comes the math, and there's even a little bit of homework. You got to ask yourself, what type of goals am I going to set for myself? Do I want to be the kid who comes to school prepared, or do I want to be the kid who says, oh, I forgot that. I didn't remember that. I didn't do that. I don't know where it is. You got to set goals for yourself. So when you start thinking about the future, and you start thinking about what you want to become and what you want to do, we don't just do things in life. We have to do things one at a time beforehand to get this. Life is kind of like math. Goal setting is like math. You may say, well, the answer is 5. But the goals are, you need 2 plus 3 to equal 5. Or it could be 2 plus 2 plus 1 equals 5. We got to stop looking at just the back end or what we want to have happen or the answer. You got to look at what it takes to get there. There's an old phrase you'll hear as you get older. It's called, do the means justify the end? Now that might go over most of your head, but what that means, there's a lot of work that goes into success. What you put into it is what you get out of it. So if you're in kindergarten and you're not really practicing writing those letters, what do you think will happen in first grade when we start writing a lot of sentences? If you're in second grade and you're sitting there thinking, well, I want my teacher to do everything for me. I want them to tell me every single step after they've given the class the instruction. And you're just sitting there waiting for the teacher to come over to you to have you do everything with them. And you never want to try to work on your own. How's that going to prepare you for third grade when there's independent work? If you're in fourth grade and you're more worried about making people laugh, being a silly guy, joking, not paying attention, not taking notes. And then you get up to fifth grade and you're having these tests every Friday or quizzes every Friday, and you have taught yourself, well, I don't take notes. I don't write stuff down. I don't study. Yes, study. What is study? Some of y'all might ask. Studying is when you go home and you spend some time reviewing the material that your teachers have discussed today or this week so you can feel prepared to take a quiz. Studying is not looking at something on the bus in the morning for the first time and the quiz is in 1 hour. Studying is not doing it real quick during your homeroom while you're eating breakfast and trying to learn. That's not studying. Studying is putting the time in. And if you teach yourself not to study in fourth grade, how does fifth grade look? Do you think you'll be successful? Do you think it'll be harder or easier in fifth grade if you don't start setting some goals? Goals are what set us up all for success. You may feel you can be lucky, or things can happen your way, or things might work out, and that might happen a time or two. But over the course of your academic careers in elementary, middle, and high school, you will see the more you set goals, the more you write goals down, the more you go back and look at your goals, because your goals, you might have to update them. And then if you don't work at those goals, life success, academic success, athletic success, personal and social success, all of those will be harder to get, to attain, to achieve, to keep if you don't identify what goals you have to have in place and what goals you have to practice and what goals you have to work on and what goals you have to review and what goals you have to update. And this is through life, not just elementary school. This is what sets you up for success. And there's nothing more to us here at Evergreen than every year the seniors come back. They're about to finish 12th grade. And, we're asking them their plans. What do they plan to do after high school? Nothing brings us more joy than seeing you be prepared to go be successful. Nothing brings us joy when we visit the middle school. And now you're in 7th grade and you're hearing about, the first couple of years they had in middle school, and you're hearing successful stories. It actually absolutely hurts my heart when I talk to some middle school students and they're telling me some of the academic difficulties that they're having. And I'm asking them, well, what's going on? Well, I got a bad grade in English. I got a bad grade in math. Why you got a bad grade? And first thing I say, do you study? And I'll say, not really. Well, how are you going to get good grades if you don't study? How are you going to get good grades if you don't pay attention? How are you going to get good grades if you don't listen? How are you going to get good grades if you talking when the teacher's talking? How are you going to get good grades if you don't take notes? How are you going to get good grades if you're trying to sleep in class? How are you going to get good grades when you're more worried about being popular and liked over learning? Goal setting. Set goals. You don't wait till you're an adult to set goals. You don't wait till high school to set goals. You don't wait till middle school to set goals. Start now. Decide the type of student you want to be. Decide the type of person you want to be. Decide who you want to be. Then you set those goals. Then you'll be successful. All right, Evergreen, we are out. Have a great, great day.